speaker, Bob, will qualify, after which he will offer a topic, and then we will have general sharing. You can take about 30 minutes, give or take, or whatever works for you. Our common welfare comes first, so please follow Zoom etiquette. Stay muted unless you are called on to share, and turn your video off if you need to multitask, so as not to distract the speaker or anyone else during the meeting. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Bob, and I'm looking forward to hearing you. It's been a while. Whoop, you're still muted, buddy.
I thought you were going to read my lips, right? Everybody's perfect at lip syncing. Hey, John's here. My name is Bobby. I'm alcoholic. Thank you so much. Well, I don't know if Peter will make it here. I know he's selling cars furiously end of the month. And thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Bedford Village. So many of my friends here. It's fantastic, really, to see you all. It's a huge honor. My friend Bob D., who was an original member of Bedford Village, and my original group. Date of my last drink. Hey, Ray, how are you? Memorial Day of 1988, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. I crash landed at Bedford Village shortly thereafter. You guys really did save my life. Some guys like Bill Lynch and others sent me on up to High Watch Farm, and the adventure began. I have literally 3 sponsors here on screen here tonight, and I have really been blessed to have absolutely the best friends and the best mentors and dear friends. Robin has come by, another early member of BV, and my friend David and Chris over there. They bounce between Pennsylvania and the Bronx and wherever they want, I guess. Yeah, so it's just by far the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life, and I hope for you too. I said that Memorial Day of 1988 was the date of my last drink. Leading up to that, I had been handcuffed to light poles and used car lots. Of course, it was a misunderstanding with the Delaware State Police, which led me to, of all things, joining a Pentecostal church. And you can't even make that up, but praise the Lord. And that lasted for 63 days. And I think I've always been a seeker of something, whether it was the Grateful Dead or the God of my understanding, or right. Jessica likes that. If honest to goodness, if there was an autopsy that could be performed, I think it would be found that I was an instant alcoholic. Probably if I crossed an invisible line, it was probably in my mother's 3rd trimester. I came out somewhat over-enthusiastic, restless, irritable, and discontent. The first song I ever knew was my father's favorite beer, Rheingold. Very few would know that, my beer is Rheingold, the dry beer. Think of Rheingold whenever you buy beer. It's not bitter, not sweet. It's the extra dry treat. Won't you try extra dry Rheingold beer? And if that's the first song that you ever learn in your life, you might be a candidate for Alcoholics Anonymous. Before I was knee-high to a Buick, I knew when they opened that bottle, long neck brown bottle of beer, that it had a skunky smell or taste, and I loved it. There was alcohol everywhere in my home. My mom, my dad, they loved drinking whiskey and leaving it around. There was no accountability. I grew up in the 60s, and if you missed the 60s, oh my, it was crazy times. There really was no accountability. And it was, of course, dangerous, but it was also fun. One of my nicknames being Fun Forbesy. I think I was probably a little wired, a little too queued up. So by the time I was probably 4 or 5 years old, my mother decided that my pediatrician should dose me with a heavy narcotic or something that literally would knock me out. And then I didn't know if it were day or night when I came to. I thought as a little kid when they would ask me when I would hold my head, and I knew that one of our relatives had a brain tumor. So they would say, "What's the matter, Bobby?" And I would go, "Brain tumor." I was hungover. When I saw in Bill's story, they said next day found me drinking both gin and sedative. I wondered if Bill was, drinking the same stuff along with the gin as they were dosing me with. Probably wouldn't be something they would do today, but, whatever. It gives you a sense that in terms of the power of the identification with the real alcoholic, man, I mean, I was that from jump. I honestly could say that if I could roll back the tape, I should have been going to Alcoholics Anonymous by the time I was in the 3rd grade. Get off the bus, get a little something to eat, get myself on my bicycle, and pedal downtown to the local AA meeting because and this was before I was even off to the races. I truly, truly needed what you had to offer. I was always a quarter click off and looking for something and just, in search of all kinds of debauchery and fun and madness. And the time sort of allowed for it in a little sleepy little town. Hawthorne is where I grew up. So you could imagine in my teen years and then college, et cetera, I went to school for a degree in music. I love music, as Jessica knows. I still do, but this past year has really kind of the way I've adapted this year in this jam band way is I find all kinds of great people on Zoom. There's some friends from a group. My home group now is in Texas, of all places, Jess. We meet every night, 8 o'clock to 9:30 their time, 9 o'clock to 10:30 our time. Trust me, it's good. If I'm going to a meeting every single night of the week, as we would say, it doesn't suck. So I don't know if you're interested, you can reach out. We'll be happy to welcome you. They are a great bunch of people, both in Texas and Mississippi. We got Simon over here in Mesa, Arizona. Great folks over there near David and Bob in South Carolina, and Max Parker from up here that moved down there. They really are. They're great. And what they do is they read a little bit of the big book, and it's great that David and Chris jump in from wherever they are. They read a little spot of the big book, and then everybody takes a shot at it. And it really is, it's special. What happened for me on Memorial Day of 1988 was, it was the most beautiful, beautiful day that you could possibly imagine out in Pound Ridge, which is where, I was fortunate to be able to buy some land and design a house. My ego needed that at the time. And by this point, I was married with 2 beautiful, beautiful little daughters. And it was an absolute picture perfect day. I'm at a backyard barbecue, catered the full 9, 150 people. It was like a wedding. Everybody looked so good and was so happy. Right by where David R there kind of grew up. It was like a drive in a 5-iron from there. And I felt so awful. I often say there were 2 groups of people there that day, 149 in one group, and they looked so good. And there was me in that other group, and I felt so bad. I had totally burned my life to the ground from the inside. Because of some circumstances, I could make it look good to the outside world as long as I had on some dark sunglasses, because I would, by this point I was bleeding from my eyes. But, it was going along this way. And I knew as I'm looking at my little daughters that they're going to be growing up without a dad. It was absolutely. And I was not being over dramatic. I was dying. I had been trying to do everything to fix my drinking. Some 10 years or so before that, I tagged along with my dad, who I just loved. He was a classic drunk, but he was just, I just thought the world of him. So he was in the old Purdy's group that the Bedford Village group kind of, migrated from. And I have my friend here, Bob, who was an original member of Bedford Village. They came down from Purdy's, I think, to Katona, and he can fact check me on this. And then a group of about 7 or so bounced off there, and I believe it was on March 12 of 1978 that Bedford Village began. Now, you don't have to know that to get or stay sober, but, since I'm a geek and, I happen to know that. So Bob was the first-year celebrant at Bedford Village, so it's a tremendous honor to have him here and see him again. And then from there, Crow Hill went over that way, and my current sponsor, David, he was over there having his first sponsor, David R. So on the screen here, it's like, this is your life, and it's unbelievable, really. The single best thing that's ever happened to me. And then I went up to High Watch after landing with you guys. And what got me to you in the first place was I knew that something had to happen. And little did I know, I uttered a prayer, and I was back the next day at my office. I said, God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? One of those drunk prayers. And this picture of my dad literally spoke to me, plaid pants and all, off of the wall, and said, well, buddy, when I got in the shape you're in, I went to AA. It worked for me. Maybe it could work for you. And it was like the old VA commercial, if you remember that one. I should have had a VA. I should have gone to AA. And that's how I landed with you guys. And I got, after coming down from High Watch, which was great. At this point, I was now going to 2 to 3 meetings a day just to keep my head on straight, and I was doing everything that you told me to do. And I don't think that it was out of any virtue. Alcohol had totally done its job on me. It beat me into a place of reasonableness. It beat me and it baffled me. I had no fight left in me. I think I was blessed with a slightly lower IQ, so I really couldn't even think. I love people and understand when they say, they resisted the God idea. I had no power to resist any ideas. If you told me to show up at the diner, that's just what I did. If you told me to pick up the phone, or, here, let us show you how to make coffee or how to set up chairs, I did it. But here's the funny thing. 2 to 3 meetings a day. I'm over at Armonk and then at Bedford, wherever we were going. And this group, BVIG, was the absolute single best thing that could have happened to a drunk like me, because it was a plug and play. If we weren't in Bedford, we were over at the diner. We're going down to the Bronx. We're going all over the place. That's Bill Houston and I, we went down to, like, in the shadow of the Verrazano Bridge to do a Fifth Tradition meeting. That was that in those days, that's what you do, drive 3 hours to go to a meeting. And so, it went like that. But here's what happened. David and some people brought these guys, Joe and Charlie, to Tarrytown. And I was sober about 6 months now. Still not real sure what it really meant to be alcoholic, though I had been claiming to be alcoholic for 10 years before I got to you, if that makes any sense to you. They brought Joe and Charlie, they took us through the big book, and I became a real alcoholic sometime around December 10 of 1988 when they read the doctor's opinion. And here's what happened. They showed us that a guy like me is running around in a body that cannot safely use alcohol, made much worse by a mind that will not leave that alone. My mind will not leave alone the very fact that I'm running around in a little meat suit that can't safely use alcohol, even though I think I do it better than almost anybody out there. But that's not true. As my friend David would say, it wasn't what I didn't know that was getting me in trouble. It's what I did know that wasn't so. That's what really had me in a pickle. So I have a body that can't take what my mind won't leave alone. And like any good infomercial, but wait, there's more. If you call right now for no extra charge, we're going to throw in just for you tonight a hole in your soul, a spiritual malady, an unmanageability, a situation we call alcoholism. You know, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be with you, whether you drink or whether you don't drink. And that is the crux of the problem that, you know, I'm going along here, and this is where the steps come in. The power of the fellowship was working big time for me, but I needed the power of the program. And where my sponsor, current sponsor, points out on page 25, it says, we came to believe in the hopelessness and the futility of life as we had been living it. There was my step 1.5 that gave me that half step to some kind of relief or sanity or an idea that, you know, and I didn't have to figure out anything. It was there for me. And that led me to a third step, or as Father Martin would say, his little broken toys poem, as a child brings broken toys and tears for us to mend. I brought my broken dreams to God because he was my friend. But then instead of leaving him in peace to work alone, I hung around and I tried to help in ways that were my own. Alas, I cried out, how could you be so slow? My child, he said, what could I do? You never did let go. You know, I think that it is probably as simple as that because alcohol had beat me into a state of reasonableness, and you showed me a way out of that, you know, I was able to just gently let go of any idea that I had to figure out anything, you know. And here was a guy that shortly before was on his way to dying. So steps 1, 2, and 3 prepared me to get sober, but it didn't get me sober. Then we got going with the inventory, the cleaning of the house, the writing down all of the wreckage, and steps and going deeper with the God of my understanding or misunderstanding or my limited understanding. A group of drunks that I got introduced to because of a gift of desperation. And that gift of desperation, though it did not feel very good, was probably one of the best things that ever happened to this drunk. And then we went out to make some amends and make right as best I could the wreckage. And you know, I was still married at the time. I'm not, you know, for about 17 years in sobriety. You know, things happen. But steps 4 through 9, I'm going to say, got me sober, but you told me would not keep me sober. And that's where the magic of 10, 11, and 12 allowed me to grow in understanding and effectiveness and usefulness. And that's what I've been able to do. And so, you know, I can say that I'm a guy who couldn't put 2 days together. I couldn't. And yet, because of you, AA, this program, I'm approaching 12,000 days. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that to thank you. Thank you so much. You know, you've allowed me to find a way of living. All I ever had was a way of dying, trying my best. I had a design for dying, and you gave me a design for living. I'll read you a little letter that my daughter, Meg, who's now a mommy, cutest little guy, they're out in Lake Tahoe, California. So Elizabeth, if you ever want to go out there skiing, let me know, and I'll introduce you to them. So she was at sleepaway camp, and I kept this thing because it's like priceless. And I don't know, she might have been 4 years old when this happened. And she'd always come down, Mom would sleep in, and I was like passed out on the couch. By this point, to be honest with you, I knew from my dad, who would drink 2 bottles of vodka a day, that you weren't going to sell too much insurance. I came with him in the business. It's tough to sell insurance with 2 bottles of vodka. So along in the 80s came this magical marching powder, as you might imagine, that kind of mitigated, or felt like to me mitigated, the effects of my drinking. I was trying anything. But of course, that was like throwing gasoline onto a dumpster fire, as you could, easily imagine. And it was absolutely killing me. So I tell my little daughter, apparently, that if you come down one morning and you can't wake daddy, go get mommy. But I forgot that I told her. So she writes us this little letter. This is back in 1996. She says, "Dear Dad, last night we had a devotion, something we do right before bed, about alcoholism and drugs and how they can ruin someone's life. At the end, they asked if anyone had an experience like this little girl. And all I could do was think of you. I thought of you, and then she asked me, do you remember when you told me one day that if I couldn't wake you up on the couch in the morning, to just go get mommy?" I cried all night. I thought about how much AA helped you. I'm so proud of you, Daddy. I really am. I love you, Meg. And I mean, to me, that's just priceless. And that tells a little bit of my story, but it tells our story. This is what we get to do. This is, the difference that we get to make, and how we can go from just being useless to where we can go, turn it around and be useful to our families and to our friends and to our fellows. And so, I think I probably have taken enough time here, Jess. There's so many good things. On the top of page 20, there's a line there that I think is just so powerful. It tells me that my very life as an ex-problem drinker depends upon my constant thought of others and how I may help to meet their needs. And, it's just the power of the fellowship together with the power of the program. And when we can integrate these two things together, we can create an unshakable foundation, a way of living that works in the good times and in times like this, and we're adaptable. And many of us have been. I did lose one very good friend. We had started a little big book over in Katona, and I lost track of him in the pandemic. And then I heard that he went into his garage and started the car. And that breaks my heart, because he was just such a beautiful, beautiful guy. I mean, I'm telling you. But for most of us, we've adapted well. We might be a quarter click off, but at alkies and addicts, I think we sometimes do better under pressure and in chaos. And if we hold it together, if what we do together, I could never do on my own, ever. So, it is such a blessing and such a privilege to be here with you tonight and see my friend Bob and David and Robin and Simon and Ray. And yeah, I owe you a certificate of insurance. Come on over, folks, if you're out in Texas. And Henry, Reverend Henry, if you ever want to see stepping stones, we'll hook you up. We've got some people that know a couple things about it, and we'll have some fun. And good to see Betsy again. And who knows, after this pandemic, maybe I'll get on over, and Jess, of course, get on over to Bedford. I got my friend John Embry. I went down and did a meeting for him down, what was it, the Foxhole Group? It's just such a privilege. The single best thing that has ever happened to this drunk is you and AA. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bob. Always great to hear you. Wonderful to see you after so long. So before we go to sharing, I have a few things I need to read. After which, Bob, you can give us a topic for us to focus our sharing on. And yeah, so before we get there, we have no dues or fees, but we have financial obligations to the church, New York Intergroup, and General Service Organization. If she hasn't already, Betsy will be putting that information in the chat. The It's Guaranteed group meets 4 times a week. Tuesday, we have a Zoom Big Book meeting at 7:30. Thursday, we have an indoor church step meeting at 7:30. Saturday, there's this Zoom speaker topic meeting at 7:30. And Sunday, there's an indoor church beginners meeting at 7 o'clock. If attending the indoor meetings, you must wear a mask and bring your chair, bring your own chair for social distancing. Our next Bedford Village business meeting is going to be on Monday, March 22nd at 7:30. Please mark your calendars. And that's all I have, I think, as far as, I'm supposed to say, please remember our BVIG etiquette, keeping your comments to 3 minutes or less, and refrain from addressing others who have previously shared. And lastly, please remember that nobody will be offended by your lack of profanity. So at this time, Bob, you can throw out a topic and people can raise their hands using either the reactions, raise hand, or participants, raise hand. And if you can't do that,
you want to call on them, Jess? Or do you
would you prefer I do, or you want to?
I mean, I will. I want to hold to the etiquette.
You're welcome to do the calling on. I'll help you if you don't see someone.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read one little paragraph. I'll sort of sample for you what we do down at the Solutions Group in Texas. As I said, my new home group. I went from Bedford all the way down to East Texas, and they're great people. So on page 25, the great fact, it's just this and nothing less. We've had deep and effective spiritual experiences, asterisk, read Appendix 2, which have revolutionized our whole attitude towards life, toward our fellows, and towards God's universe. The central fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that our Creator has entered into our hearts and lives, or maybe lives, in a way which is indeed miraculous. He has commenced to accomplish those things for us which we could never do by ourselves. So if you guys, let's see, just what do we do now? Just wait for the hand, or?
Yeah, so hopefully people raise their hand. If not, you're welcome to just sort of call on people, and if they don't want to share, they can pass.
All right, then you know what? I'm going to call on people, because that's what we do on down there in Texas, and it's great.
We do have one volunteer so far, though. Let's start with Chris H.
Chris H., go.
Hey guys, my name is Chris. I'm an alcoholic. How you guys doing? It's great to be here. I had to put my hand up because I ran across this Zoom meeting a couple of weeks ago. I haven't been able to get here, but I actually grew up in Bedford. My parents moved us there in 1969. And by 1971, I was off the rails at the Fox Lane Middle School, already doing drugs and drinking and getting in trouble. I could have used AA by the time I was 15, but I didn't know that, and I didn't actually get sober until I was 52, so it took me a little while to come in. But the great thing about Zoom is that I was able to see this meeting, and it just, it brought back, when my addiction really started. And I think I agree with you, Bob, that I could have used it in 3rd grade too, definitely. And I loved your qualification. It was a perfect AA qualification. I mean, just you told the whole story of AA really in your qualification. It was great. And I like your topic. I mean, I'm not big, on higher power and that sort of thing, but I do think that I've definitely had a change, a psychic change. It took me a long time. I mean, I'm in my 10th year, and it's only been recently that really things have turned the corner for me. But but I stuck it out. I didn't drink, and I kept going to meetings almost every single day in the last 9+ years. I rarely missed a meeting, and I do tons of service. That's also what's kept me sober. And the people of AA, like you said, that's what makes the magic. The people, all of the people who help each other every day and show up for meetings like this. That service, right? Showing up for each other is a great service that we all do every time we log into a meeting or show up at a meeting. Or make a phone call to another alcoholic, right? That's what it's all about. And I'm so glad I found you guys. It's great to be here. It's great to hear the Bedford Village, and I look forward to coming back. So thanks for letting me share.
Oh, that's great, Chris. Thanks for getting us started. Hey, I'd like to call my old friend Bob D over there. So good to see you, my friend. Would you like to share? You're on mute. Pesky little mute button.
I just prompted him to unmute. Maybe that'll help.
Oh, is that right?
Bob, are you working on it? You just have to hit the unmute so we can hear you. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yay!
Now we can. Great.
I have to say, Bob, thank you very much. That's what I said before, and you couldn't hear me. No, I appreciate your talk. You put a lot of things in my mind, brought a lot of things back. But you said one thing, and I'm not sure about the topic. I probably didn't hear it. But you said you were always seeking things. And I identify a whole bunch with that. All my life I was looking for things, but I don't know what. I didn't have an answer. I wasn't looking for this. I wanted to succeed in work and all kinds of things like that, but I was looking for something. I don't know what. And after years of drinking, I came to an AA meeting, and a young lady was there. I think she was about 20. And she said to me, "Do you want to stop drinking?" And I said, "Yes. I think that's what I was looking for. I wanted to stop drinking." But I didn't know it. I didn't know I was an alcoholic. I didn't know a lot of things. But when I came into AA, it opened up a whole new life for me in a lot of ways. What am I seeking now? All the things that you do, like you talked about going to meetings. I went to meetings like seven days a week, 3 times on Sunday. But, you come into the program and, there's things that you look at and you want. You want to do the steps and you want to do them right. And you focus on things and you do them. You go to Brooklyn for a meeting, get lost, but find the place. So you're still seeking. And I find that now, after, I've been sober a while, I'm still looking for things. I'm still seeking things. And that's one of the good things to me in life, to have something to look for. You always don't know what it is. I don't know what it is sometimes. But then so by accident, I'll find it. And I don't know if that makes a lot of sense or not, but I think, I don't know. I don't know. I think a lot of us are like that. I only think that because I don't know. But the one thing I know is when I came on tonight, Jessica was there, and we spoke, and that was wonderful. I enjoy the people in AA. That's something I didn't want before. When I was drinking, kind of stay away from me, leave me alone. But you come into the program, there's people there you never saw before in your life, and you can speak to them. And I assume they have some understanding of what I'm saying or talking about. That's only an assumption. But anyway, it's great being here tonight. You brought some memories back to me, I'll tell you. Sometime I'll tell you about it. Not now. But it was good. I didn't like Run Gold beer. See what I did? One thing I did, I don't like Schaefer. They don't make it anymore. So I outlived beers, if nothing else. And I used to drink Fleischmann's Rye. I don't think that's in business anymore. So that's an accomplishment. By not drinking, I outlived alcohol. Thank you very much. Great to be here tonight.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much. Hey, Robin, how are you? You want to share with us? I'm going to put you on the spot.
You did. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Jessica. And it is great to be here. I don't have my right glasses with me, so everybody's a little blurry, but it's awkward for me, probably not you. But it was a great meeting, and I was, I got sober in Bedford Village in 1981, and so it's great to be here. And I too grew up in Bedford, and so it was great. And I hear people share meetings. It's so different because I was the person going to Staten Island, all over the place. So it's a great way to get sober, actually. And I really was. It was great to listen to you. It brought me back to to my drinking, really. And I was beaten into a state of reasonableness, and I hated being an alcoholic. I hated going to AA. I was 19 years old and 20 years old, and I hated it. I was so angry, and I don't know why I was born an alcoholic. I don't know if I was born one, but when I was a year and a half old, I went around and drank all the rest of the drinks from my parents' cocktail party, and I went to sleep, they said. And I said to them when they told me this much later, I said, well, how long did I sleep? And they're like, about 2 days. And the doctor would come and check on you to make sure you were alive or going to be okay. So I often wonder, was that like the point of no return? I don't know. But the minute I started drinking, a bathtub full was, one was too many and a bathtub full was not enough. And it never stopped. And I just drank into a blackout from the first time I ever started drinking. And I loved it. And I thought, this is great. It's the more the merrier. Just keep going. And I welcomed blackouts. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was really a terrible, terrible time. And it just reminds me that, that's never going to change in me. Have a body that can't take it and a mind that won't leave it alone. And, I'm compulsive enough in regular things. So, add that physical kind of allergy to it. It's just insanity, total insanity for me. So it's good to remember that. And, I wrote down what you were reading. I just wrote down the one little phrase is all I got to, and deep and effective spiritual experiences. And I questioned that. I said, have I had those? Have I had deep and effective spiritual experiences? Have I personally? And yes, I have. And I do want to go through the steps again, 1 to 12, and I am ready to do that. And it always takes that, to really, it takes like that level of honesty and humility, to be brought back to God and to feel that I need that to be useful to other people, really. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin. Hey, let me call on one of my new friends down there in Texas. Hey, Ricky Russell, would you like to share with us?
Sure, Bobby. I'm Ricky Russell. I'm an alcoholic. It's really good to be here. Bobby, I just told Zane, that I said, Bobby don't know it, but if something happens to Gary, Bobby will be your new band sponsor. So it was great. Man, what a deal we have. Deep and effective spiritual experience. When I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, my sponsors started trying to open me up about God stuff, and I said, well, wait a minute. I've done that. I've been in church all my life. I've been saved. I've, done whatever. And he said, oh no. He said, you've got to go much deeper. And what he was talking about was steps 4 through 9. And once I went through 4 through 9, what happened to me, it gave me a whole new attitude toward life. Life is not dog eat dog today. Life is beautiful. It revolutionized my attitude toward my fellows. I don't believe everyone's out there to get me now. There's some beautiful people out there. Life is great. I don't care if we're going through a pandemic or what we're going through. Life is so good. And it revolutionized my attitude towards God's universe. Life really is beautiful with the 12 steps, but for this alcoholic right here, it's a horrible way to live without it. And then, like it said, the absolute certainty, no question about it, that my Creator has entered into my heart and life in a way which is indeed miraculous, and He has commenced to accomplish those things for me which I couldn't do for myself. I can get along with my wife. I have deep and effective relationships with all 4 of my children. My oldest daughter just left with my 18-year-old granddaughter. They came to see their granddad, dad and granddad. Had a beautiful visit. We have no problems among us, I don't have problems at work anymore. Because as you mentioned, Bobby, the flag I wave is the top of page 20. If I want a good life, I'll see what I can do to help others instead of me. If I want to have a good work life, my job is to go in there and be a helper and see what I can do, expecting nothing in return. Same way here at my house, it works beautifully. And, you mentioned you were going to die, and I was too. Thank God I did, but as you know, today I'm at a funeral of some very nice, sweet young man, 37 years old, with alcoholism. And I saw the devastation of his family, what it talks about on page 18 for us, But, those things happen. We do all we can. But, if we could do more, we would, but we can't, But great talk, Bobby. I'm so glad I was on here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Let's see. Jessica tells me, Joe, where are you, buddy? Joe C. There you are, down there. Would you like to share with us?
Yeah, my name's Joe. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Joe.
Thank you for your speaking. It reminds me of a lot. Bedford Village. We used to take outgoings from Poughkeepsie to Bedford Village. There's a little park there in the middle of the town still, and we used to meet in the white church. Yeah, I remember that back in the early 80s. Geez, yeah, it'll bring back memories. What you read there was really powerful stuff, because He has commenced to accomplish things for us which we could never do by ourselves. My daughter recently went for a new job at the FBI down here in North Carolina, in Raleigh, the State Bureau of Investigation. And one of the questions they asked her is, what is the person you admired the most? And she said her father. I mean, the hair stood up the back of my neck. How did that happen? I mean, just, and so that's just proof to me that this fellowship of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous has changed my life. And what a gift that is. Because there was a time, the other gentleman says, things happen in sobriety, and this is a family disease. And I went through stuff with my children, especially my daughter. And there was a time where I got to a point where I could do nothing, and it was just counting on God. And it got to the point where faith isn't faith until that's all I had to hang on to. But I was told, you keep going to your meetings, you keep doing commitments to Alcoholics Anonymous, you keep your commitments, you go on to these outgoings. And that did take care of itself. It took care of itself. A hard lesson for me, and that's even today. I control nothing. And what you said is, I think what I was getting at from my greatest asset It says it more than once in the big book, is my past. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. That's just great. I'd like to call on my friend David and Chris, but yet if I know Bedford is a wonderful beginner group, so if there's anybody in their first year, we'd love to hear from you also. David and Chris. You are muted.
How's that?
Now you're on. Good.
Well, I don't think Christine wants to share, but she wants to say hello.
My name is Chris. I'm an alcoholic. Bobby, it's always great to hear you. And I've been to this group a number of times, but I'm love being here tonight. I'm going to listen. Wanted
Great.
to say hello to everybody.
We'll see you next hour in Texas.
Yeah, my name's David. I'm alcoholic, and I'll be on the Texas meeting. We've been doing it as many nights in a row as we can. The reading that you picked and listening to some of the shares, it's undeniable. It's undeniable that we have had deep and effective spiritual experiences. And you stop to think about the fact that Bill H., David R., yourself and I used to tear the big book apart a half a sentence at a time once we learned from Charlie and Joe what they were talking about. We were insane. The way we did it, we were insane. You know, they all but blackballed us from Alcoholics Anonymous for doing it the way we did it. But the tide has turned, and there are plenty of people that are, looking at the book in that way. It's an absolute miracle. You're talking about people who have nearly 40 years of sobriety. It's an entire lifetime together. Bobby, it's a pleasure to have you in my life. Thanks for letting me share.
Hey, Betsy, so good to see you. Would you like to share with us? You're muted.
Yes, I would. Hey, everybody, my name is Betsy. I'm an alcoholic. Bob, it was great to hear you tonight. You said so many things that really, I love it when people talk about their story and their journey through sobriety, and they come up with these little expressions that just immediately clarify something in my mind that wasn't preventing my sobriety, but just makes me understand it a little better. You made the comment that it wasn't what you knew that was going to kill you, or what you didn't know that was going to kill you. It's what you knew that wasn't true. And I can so identify with that. At any rate, I'm up here in Vermont. My oldest daughter had a baby. And today I got in the car to go over to their place. I'm staying in a separate house because their place is so tiny. And I thought, I am so done with this. They are so controlling. This is absolutely nuts. I am so out of here tomorrow. That's it. And I get over there, and love and service, love and service, love and service, new experience, patience, kindness, tolerance, love. I mean, all of that. I am so, knocked off out of balance. I get over there, and this, my grandchild's father says, Betsy, you don't have anything to do on Monday. We'd love to have you stay another day. And I'm thinking to myself, my immediate reaction is, oh, this is powers greater than me at work. It's just not going to let me leave town with this mood and attitude that I'm in. It's going to give me another 24 hours to be in this situation and come to better terms with it and leave, in a better place. I mean, there are things that happen that are not in my control that just allow me to reset myself and have a new perspective, get a second chance, correct the situation. How horrible would it have been for me to drive home tomorrow feeling this horrible disturbance? Here I get to do it, be with them again tomorrow, look at it differently, bring some more patience and compassion as a boundless freedom instead of a verb. right? Instead of having to work hard at it, just let it be open and there. Love and service. I did a lot of seeking through my days in AA, and it didn't matter where I was seeking, it all came down to those two words, love and service. It's been a wonderful journey. You know, I'm coming up on 12 years this year. I cannot believe it. I couldn't get 12 minutes together on my own. My son is in sobriety now. He's in a group called the Central Fact Group down in Florida. You know, I had no power over that. But we have something together between us that is just absolutely beautiful now. Great to see you, Bob. Great to hear you talk.
Oh, that's so fabulous. Fabulous. You know, Betsy mentioned little sayings. She gave me one, alkalogic. You remember that, alkalogic?
Alkalogic, yes.
Alkalogic, you know, and that's great. And of course, I can remember when you came into, you know, introduced you to Ruth, and you know, to be able to see the growth and in people and have the light come on in their eyes. It is one of the most things. It really, really is. Fantastic. Hey, I got to call up my friend David R., who introduced me to the Big Book. And I'm telling you, without my friend David and the 4 magic cassette tapes, folks, back when we had cassette tapes, and guys like Joe and Charlie, I don't know where I'd be. Jay, would you like to share with us?
Thank you. I'm David. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is August 23rd of 79. It's wonderful to hear you. You're very easy to, you're like putty in our hands when Charlie and Joe came in. Not like David Tanner, who was like alcoholic or whatever you used to say. What was her name? Betsy used to title explain that. But he was a little more stubborn than you, but he seemed to turn out all right. I'm David Russell, and there's Ricky Russell here, and there's Robin Russell, which we're not all related at all, but we're very close to each other, one another. I got sober in a place called Second Chance, and my vision for AA was very glum and sad and everything. When my brother got sober 2.5 years before I did, I felt sorry for him, and he was going to have to be put out to pasture with you people, not to have any more fun, and just corralled into this mundane type life. But little did I know that he was being into the 4th dimension. And Scotty up there talked about you're going to be living a life beyond your comprehension. And it was a place called Second Chance, and I really related that to this paragraph that you read. The great fact is this and nothing less. And my sponsor, Don Pritz, used to say, and expect nothing less. You should put your vision up there in the clouds with him and your feet on the ground with AA. And I'm really excited about hearing you tonight, and I'm really excited about seeing Bedford Village tonight. And it sounds like they're still going strong, and they're still trying to carry the message effectively. And this Zoom thing is just going to be incredible. Thank you so much, and love you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hey, you know, I wanted to call on my friend Henry, who's down near Jackson, Mississippi. Henry just he's celebrating a year this month. Henry, would you like to share with us?
Just briefly, thank you, Bobby. I am an alcoholic. My name is Henry, and by the grace of God in this program, I've been sober since February the 1st of this year, and that is a miracle, because it wasn't that long ago that, well, I could just relate to what Bobby said. I was sitting there with at the time, 11-year-old son saying, it's going to be a shame when he loses his daddy before he's 14, because I know I only got about a couple more years the rate I'm going, that, you know, that I'm not going to be here anymore. I know it's killing me. I didn't know how it was going to take me out, but one way or another, I knew that I could not continue to drink the amount I was drinking and live, and I could not stop. And the sad part about that was I had been in the program, you know, for years before, but just sat there and just chose death over going back to AA. That's the insanity of my alcoholism. Said, I'm not going to go back and do all that. I'll just take it on out. It just took what it took to have a break in that insanity to to be able to make the decision to walk back in the door. You know, I'm just truly grateful for that. And Bobby, I got to get that Father Martin poem from you. Just kind of choked me up, because that was me just, you know, I'm son of a Baptist preacher, so I was back and forth and round in circles in my head with God. But the bottom line was, today I don't try to figure out what he is or who he is. I just know that when I relax and leave it in his hands, I know everything's going to be okay. That I don't have to figure it out. That I just got to do what's in front of me. And sometimes the most spiritual thing I do on a particular day is the dishes. And that's all it takes sometimes. Thank you, Bobby. I just so glad that David Russell, thank you for sending me the link so I could be involved here tonight.
Well, thanks, Henry. My friend David is such a great promoter. Jess says, well, there's time for one more. So who has a burning desire? I'd stay here all night. Trust me. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to call on Pamela, who also has 1 year this month. Another February celebrant. Pamela, would you like to share with us?
Good evening, Bobby. I've waited all day to hear you. So thankful that your friend sent me the link so I could be a part of your story. Oh yeah, Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life. I'm sober 1 year, and I've been in and out of the program for 30 years, and I'm sober because I surrendered to the program and I did the steps, and I don't have to figure anything out anymore. And I'm so grateful to be here. Can't wait to hear your story, Bobby. Love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Trust me, I would call Jess. I would stay here as long as it took to hear from everybody. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. And I hope I get back to see you when the brick and mortar and on the other side of this. I'll turn it back to Jess. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Bob. It was, again, really great to hear you and to hear all the shares around the room. It gave me a lot to think about as well. And before we close with a prayer, I'm going to go ahead and read a vision for you. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find, and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. And in order to maintain everyone's serenity, we will all stay muted while the guest speaker unmutes and closes with a prayer of your choice.
Oh, thank you. How about a moment of silence for those still sick and suffering, friends that we look forward to meeting soon, and then the serenity prayer. And I know at Bedford they like the wee version. God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bless you all.